Good morning.
Good morning, Jessie. Good morning, all.
Hello, Hemanti.
Hi.
Nice to see you all.
Yes, nice to see you too.
Morning, Hemanti. How are
Good
you?
morning. I'm well.
Great.
How are you, Hendra?
I'm very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us also one day before holidays, I understand, for many of you, I believe.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Great to see everyone here. Good morning, good afternoon. Well, this is the third session of the series of sessions we are doing with CIB about decentralized cooperation. It's also a part of our studies on regional perspectives of decentralized cooperation we're doing on the framework of the module 4 on decentralized cooperation. And it's a pleasure to have you all here. Before starting, we'd just like to show you a little bit the agenda of today. We'll have a short meeting starting with Jessie that will do like the general vision of these activities and the general idea of this series of webinars, and then pass to Hendra from ASPAC that will give a little bit but will present the regional perspective of the region, and then again to Jessie that will present the paper on decentralized cooperation from the CIB, and then some comments of Salim of MEWA that will also talk a little bit about the regional perspective of MEWA. And then the idea is to debate with you for more 20 minutes to hear you and to get all the ideas or comments that you may have about both perspectives, both the regional perspectives and the CIB paper on decentralized cooperation. So that's a little bit it. I'll pass to Jessie now.
Thank you very much, Fernando, and nice to see you all. Welcome again. Fernando, can you again share the screen, please? It left us. I believe Sarah Heuvelig is also joining us at some point, and she will also frame a little bit more this discussion, but I will start. Maybe you could go to the next slide, Fernando. Because indeed, as you might know, well, first let me introduce myself because I don't think I know everyone. I'm Jessie Post. I work at the Association of Dutch Cities in the Netherlands. And I also coordinate the secretariat of one of the working groups of UCLG, the Capacity and Institution Building Working Group. And I will tell you a bit more about the working group later, but for now, it's important maybe to share with you that we've, at UCLG, more and more, we want to link learning to policy. And you've all been involved, I believe, in the training on module 4 on SDGs and decentralized cooperation. I believe you've participated in regional meetings, and I think MEWA will still do this because it's a joint event of ASPAC and MEWA today. To learn more about the regional perspective on decentralized cooperation and discuss it among each other. And at UCLG level, we find it very important to link this learning and research to the policy and advocacy work that we do, because we are all working on the same topic and there's so much data and knowledge and experiences. And we felt like we should be sharing this with the big public and showcasing the important work that everybody is doing. Maybe more than we've done before. So this is also our own learning process. As you might know, we are currently working on a policy paper on development cooperation of local governments, or decentralized cooperation. And as it is a UCLG policy paper, it's of course very important that we bring all the perspectives from all regions into this paper. We are quite far stage in the process, but we wanted to do some extra consultations this week with UCLG Africa on Monday, Latin America on Tuesday, and then now Asia Pacific and MEWA. So hopefully we learn even more about your regional perspectives today. It's really crucial to have this conversation with you. And without further ado, I will then now give the floor to the regional perspective. I would like to give the floor to Hendra, who has been very much involved in the Module 4 training and the rollout of it. So please tell us more about what the findings from these events and the paper you have been writing about the region together with Sogan Moodley, who's also here today.
All right. Thank you, Jessie. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Happy to see you again online. My pleasure to share our experiences in the UCLG-ASPAC on Asia Pacific perspectives on the decentralized cooperation and the SDGs. So as Jessie has mentioned, that we did the workshops last year with the UCLG World Secretariat on this topic, and it's very interesting to see the growing interest from our members to do the cooperations. We'll do the share screen. From here, oops, sorry. Yes. Okay, so I would like to share my presentations entitled DC as a Tool for SDGs Localizations, which is some reflections we got from our last workshops and from Asia Pacific perspectives as well. And thank you for CIB Working Group for organizing these workshops. Before we move with the findings, I would like to share with you the context of the Asia Pacific development challenges. Well, in Asia Pacific, we see the growing economies in some countries, and because the region has the most populous countries as well, namely China, Indonesia, and they also some of the countries also part of the G20, which is describing as the biggest, one of the biggest economies in the world. And Indonesia, so this year being the presidency of the G20 as well. So it describes us how the potentials and the opportunity of the regions to grow in economic sense. But the region also face the challenges of the poverty and the widening gap of economy due to the large number of urbanizations, or maybe the incapacity of the authorities to make the economy fair, something like that. So perhaps this will be the main challenges that the local governments and the national governments in Asia Pacific are facing in terms of the economic equality, and also delivering jobs and infrastructures for the regions. But seeing all the challenges, we see also the potentials in these regions with huge populations, and also the massive markets in the regions where there are biggest populations in some countries, and also there's also developed countries as well trying to sell their products. There will be potentials of the growing economies in the upcoming years, and we also see some of the potentials of the regions for playing a key role in the economy for next decades. For UCLG-ASPAC's secretariats in localizing SDGs, we are doing some strategies here by connecting the LGs to development actors to explore the partnerships. So we have some samples of the cooperations of local governments with external or international parties, like we are doing now in Palu, one of the cities in Indonesia affected by a disaster several years ago. Now they receive a funding for building a public space, and I believe that UCLG will also come to Palu to launch the project as well. And there's also a activities for promotions. Our knowledge management team to do the promotions of the SDGs link DC in cooperations with our staffs dedicated to the decentralized cooperations. And for some examples, in Indonesia, we are now collaborating with the Ministry of Home Affairs to facilitate more cities to do the city-to-city cooperation. And capacity building, this is the most important part of our strategy to link the decentralized cooperation to SDGs. I think with the potentials of the LGs to do the city-to-city cooperations, but of course the capacities has to be considered or taken into account, that they can develop cooperations in light to receive the benefits from this initiative. So the capacity is one of our important strategies to spread the message of the SDGs link DC. And then we're also developing the rapid assessments to local governments by circulating surveys to our members to find out what they really need on this initiative, how they build the capacity and the understanding on the decentralized cooperations. And last but not least is developing the roadmap. So we are trying to set the priority goals on the SDGs of the decentralized cooperation initiative. Mainly local governments are setting up the goals 8 and 11 for these initiatives. But of course, it could develop on other priorities as well, hopefully for the poverty reduction and gender and health. Hopefully that will take place in upcoming years for the city-to-city cooperations or decentralized cooperations. Next is that we also do the assessments on the important, DC for the regions. This was done during our workshop last year. So I can present to all of you the interesting part of the DC in Asia Pacific. So when we ask how important do you think DC for your city right now, then they respond that DC is seen as a really important priority because they realize that their region is developing and they need assistance from other regions that they think is much more developed ones. And yeah, that's, as I've mentioned before, that in preparations of our workshops in November 2021 training, that we circulated a survey for our training participants. Although the size is fairly small, but they shared with us a interesting insights for the the DC development for upcoming years. So the finding was that the responses of the participants to assess the understanding of the on the DC, that they think that their understanding is very high. Nearly 65% of the participants are saying that their understanding on DC is really high. Only 36% rate themselves as low or very low. This indicates that they are, or in general terms, they are really aware of their practice and also ready to engage with other cities for cooperations, etc. Especially to boost the SDGs achievement at their regions. And also interesting to know that the perceptions of effort expanded on the DC is that like the majority of the participants felt that it's not enough to do the DC cooperations. It indicates that they are aware that the energy or the initiative is not enough and they need more. So this is by far the real commitments by all practitioners to do more and to spend their energy to promote the DC at their region or their countries or their cities. And next is that but the readiness of the city for for city-to-city cooperations. So while the results above indicated a strong keenness, enthusiasm, and willingness, but it is also interesting to learn that it is not necessarily matched with an accompanying readiness to intervene. So their eagerness to do the DC is really, really high, but at the same time, they felt that it's not really matched with their current readiness to intervene the DC. Of course, this is in connection with the capacity. So our effort is to increase the capacity to do the cooperations in collaboration with the national governments or other counterparts as well. So next is about how the focus is about the building intensive technical capacity at the municipal level. So during the training, we use interesting tools in Mural to promote the exercise of how to link the DC to the SDGs achievement, because maybe some of the local governments are not aware that their initiative in DC is linked to the SDGs achievement. But of course, this in particular initiative is really, really important for cities to also achieve the SDGs in cooperation or in collaboration with other cities. So this is an interesting part. So I think after the training, the participants then understood that what they do in the decentralized cooperations is automatically linked with the SDGs initiative at the local level. This is what we had, with the statistics after the trainings. So when we asked what they will grade or will they rate the trainings, how it would be, and they found the training is very important. They found the training is excellent, and they are really keen to participate in the training, in the similar training as well. So I think this is the opportunity for all of us. We're in UCLG-ASPAC as well to develop the similar trainings with other cities. We currently received the new members and also just met with some of local government representatives, and they mentioned that they need assistance, they need the capacity building facilitations to develop the similar initiatives, and also in their current objectives of achieving the SDGs with the assistance or the helps of the foreign cities through the city-to-city cooperation. So I think it is good to learn from our members that they need facilitations for developing the decentralized cooperations. And yeah, I think this is very interesting to learn that our initiative is appreciated, and maybe we would do more on the upcoming months. So yeah, the plans to promote the decentralized cooperations for our members and local governments in general, that we are gearing up a dedicated capacity to be coordinated with our knowledge management team, that will play the role for promotions and for outreaching the local governments or the new members to do the decentralized cooperations. And we're also trying to formalize the cross-country team. We know we have, as you know, that we have teams in other countries as well, in Philippines and Sri Lanka and Nepal, and I would like to develop the initiatives that they can also be in touch with each other to develop the similar initiatives in their own country. Then the second is that the building up the DC intelligence at country level. Indonesia is an example. During the training, there were 2 cities presenting their experience in developing the decentralized cooperations with foreign cities. Surabaya has the successful best practice or success story with I forget the names. It is one of the Japanese city, Kitakyushu, to develop a waste management tools, for Surabaya. So they now having the waste management tools to support the city to be more green and to establish a green city. And then also Jakarta has the same experience with Berlin. This has been established more than 20 years ago, and now still ongoing. And from the collaborations for youth and culture, they're now developing more meaningful cooperations on smart cities. So this has been the two success stories of the cities in Indonesia. And we need to expand these success stories to other countries as well. So we always open the opportunity for other members in other countries, especially in China, South Korea, and Japan, to connect with cities in, let's say, Southeast Asia or South Asia. So that will be great for e-learning as well. And the third is the supporting and enabling country champions. We have some trainers as a output of the workshops last November, and we really need their participation and engagement for the trainings to train or to deliver their knowledge and insights to our member cities for developing the new potentials of the decentralized cooperations. And then the last is developing sustainable regional DC program. Currently, we are planning to do the training for Indonesia and Malaysia. So perhaps this would be opening, opportunities for new DC link SDGs cooperations. So the capacity building is very important, as I have mentioned earlier, that Indonesia and Malaysia is really keen to also promote the city-to-city cooperations to their cities as well. So this is something that we are very keen to work with other colleagues as well. So how to recommit the DC rollout as a driver of these link actions. From the module 4 that we will do the rollout of the TOT program, as I mentioned before, that we will do the trainings in Malaysia and Indonesia. The timeline is not decided yet, but we've been discussing this with the Kuala Lumpur regional training centers to do the training, and also we have discussed this with the Indonesian Minister of Home Affairs to do the training this year. So hopefully that this will take place in the last semester of 2022, and the module 4 would be the important tools for us to deliver the training. For your information, that UCLG-ASPAC has also developed the international cooperation training modules for Indonesian context, and we did it during our localized SDGs program 2018 to 2021, and we in the training module we were involving the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the National Development Planning agencies, and also other practitioners on decentralized cooperation. So it was very interesting training, and because our Ministry of Home Affairs, Indonesian Ministry of Home Affairs, are encouraging all the cities, municipalities to do the decentralized cooperation. So this will be a good point for UCLG-ASPAC to work with UCLG World and other counterparts to to promote the decentralized cooperations. And then after the trainings that we do the catalyzation and a driver. Yeah, sorry.
More 2 minutes. please.
Yes, I will say that 2 minutes, 2 more
Okay,
minutes. Then this will do the this will affect the implementation of the effective Asia Pacific country needs-based SDGs link program. So by doing the trainings and also promoting the importance of DC, then the more cities, more regions would be interested to develop the decentralized cooperation. And we, UCLG-ASPAC Secretariat, would be happy to facilitate the initiative, and I would also be happy to assist our members to do the decentralized cooperations in the near future as well. That's all my presentations, Fernando. And thank you so much for the opportunity to share the experiences of Asia Pacific for the DC. And I look forward to a fruitful discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, dear Hendra. Thanks all the ASPAC team for the amazing work, and our last training there was really great, and it's awesome to see that this is multiplying with other associations, and also great to think about this multiplication with CIB too. So I would like also to thank Sogen Moodley, which is the specialist that is coming with us since the beginning of the module 4, and also thinking about the regional perspectives, and supporting also the future trainings in other regions as the next one on MEWA. So thank you very much, Hendra. I will pass to Jessie now. She will explain a little bit the CIB paper on decentralized cooperation. Thank you very much, Jessie.
Thank you, Fernando. And indeed inspiring to learn how much potential there is in the Asia Pacific region. I think there's a lot of reason to also collaborate more, maybe between your regional section and the CIB Working Group, which, just as a reminder, brings together professionals from local government associations and individual cities or local governments who are active in international cooperation, in decentralized cooperation. So I also thought it was very interesting what you said, that Indonesia has created its own international cooperation training modules. So I would be happy to learn more about that at another moment. Yeah, briefly, indeed, I already opened the meeting, of course, and mentioned that I coordinate the secretariat of this working group. I wanted to repeat once more that this working group came into existence to advance the effectiveness and quality of international policies and programs by local governments and their associations. We find it very important to coordinate efforts, to learn from each other, do good knowledge exchange, and also advocate together for the importance of decentralized cooperation and the need for more funding and capacity building in this regard. And my presentation today is about the policy work or the advocacy work we are doing at the moment, together with Sebastian Hamel, former co-chair of CIB, who is now an independent consultant. For him, it's in the middle of the night, so I'm replacing him for the presentation. He's based in Canada, but he sends his regards to all of you. So Sebastian has been hired by us following intensive research last year with the Institute of Development Studies based in the UK on let's say the state of affairs of decentralized cooperation among UCLG members. As you might know, UCLG and CIB partnered in 2013 to work on a first policy paper on this topic, which you might have seen. Maybe some of my colleagues can copy it into the chat as well. This was an important, key document for the World Organization on this topic, and has served as a conversation starter with national governments, the donor community and others, but also among our own membership. And we felt that almost 10 years later, it does need an update because obviously global challenges are changing or becoming larger. We've gone through a large COVID pandemic. There are all kinds of challenges facing us. So the paper needs adaptation, and we felt that all the regional trainings done by the learning team have shown a lot of content and data, which is very useful for this policy paper. The new one is almost ready, so we are in the final stage and will be presented to the Executive Bureau of UCLG in June. And then a larger paper with more case studies and background will be ready for the Congress in October. And in this PowerPoint, we will briefly highlight the part calls to action of the policy paper. The paper also, you can go to the next slide, Fernando. The paper also gives background and why explains why we are revising the paper, what the current context looks like, why local governments are a key player in development. But the call to action is most, let's say, provoking and good for the conversation of today. So we can go to the next slide. The calls to action are not only to national governments and the donor community, but also to ourselves, because we still think our sector can also still improve, but we have a role to play too. The general call to action is that we want to emphasize again that local and regional governments are important players when addressing local, national, regional, and global development challenges. So that aside from other development actors, local and regional governments definitely need to be taken on board. They need to be fully recognized not only in the design of development cooperation or in the policy dialogue, but also in the implementation phase, basically in all phases of development cooperation. We also ask for more recognition for decentralized cooperation as a cooperation modality that works. It's a complex modality with all kinds of setups, so not city-to-city partnership, but also other forms of cooperation. So we also explain in the policy paper that there are various forms, but that this is a very serious modality. And that the UCLG's vision is that, based on all the conversations we've had with members, we agree that it needs to be a fully recognized, efficient, professional, and impactful development cooperation modality. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm suddenly white. And that we have some calls to action to make it even more recognized, and that we enable that decentralized cooperation is even more enabled. Can we go to the next slide? We have 6 calls for action. I will very briefly go through them before I give you the floor to react to them. The first is, as I said, a push for continued recognition for the role of local and regional governments in addressing global challenges. Throughout the years, UCLG has achieved that there is more recognition, definitely, for the role of local governments in this field. But we often have a seat at the table as local and regional governments. Maybe that's a question also to you, but the general vision is that we're often at the table, but this needs to transform into real partnerships, and also in that we not only talk or are invited to talk, but also recognized as implementing partners and strategic implementation actors. Then second call to action, as I said just now, more promotion for decentralized cooperation as an essential development cooperation modality. More and more donors see the added value of cooperation at the local level, but it is often not accompanied by enough funding. And we say that this needs to be more predictable, the available funding, and also increased, since we have proven that it is an essential and effective approach to support development. Third call to action. This is the one where we look into the mirror, where we also look at ourselves on how we can improve the work that we do. Because honestly speaking, well, many members agreed that we can also still be more effective, more professional, and more innovative ourselves. We are piloting innovative approaches, but how can we skill these up and make sure they are used all around the world? How do we better coordinate? This remains a real challenge. CIB is one of the places where we try to coordinate, but in reality, many members are carrying out their own projects, but not so much looking for overlap and doing things together. We can create more synergies, increase the impact of what we do, and also continue investing as you are doing UCLG-ASPAC in knowledge management, result monitoring, and accountability. And to show to financiers that we are actually really achieving fast impact. Fourth call to action. This is an important new development within development cooperation. Especially development banks around the world are piloting if they can make financing available directly to cities and not only to national governments. But we see that among the membership, there is little capacity and little knowledge on how to access this financing for development. So donors need to make an effort to make financing more accessible, but our community also needs capacity building to then find this financing, let's say, and make use of what's available. The last two calls to action. Development cooperation is a rather complex sector, and we believe that all actors involved at international, national, and local level need to make an effort to work in a multi-stakeholder and integrated approach to make sure the sector is not as fragmented as it sometimes is, and make sure we work together to achieve better results, also in an increasingly political context of development assistance. And last but not least, many members mentioned that despite the fact that we feel that development cooperation is very important, citizen support is decreasing, definitely in some regions of the world. So we also need to make an effort to create more public support for decentralized cooperation. So do more awareness raising, not only for local governments, but also for our citizens, and strategically engage with our citizens, strongly advocating within our communities for international cooperation at the local level to address the big challenges we're facing. So that's it in a nutshell, and I can imagine it's a lot of information. I also want to mention right away that you can also react to this in a written form, but we do want to give the opportunity now also to react based on 3 questions we have formulated. Maybe you can again share the screen, Fernando. There we are. So the questions are about the calls to action. The question is, do these reflect, well, the reality you're facing in the ASPAC and MEWA region, because we also have members from the MEWA region today. Are these the challenges and opportunities you're facing with regard to decentralized cooperation in your regions? Do we need to add certain elements? And how do we perhaps make them more concrete so that we can really support the work you're doing? And perhaps you have other recommendations for the final policy statement that we will be putting forward to the Executive Bureau. I believe Salim Korkmaz is ready to have a first commentary from the MEWA region, and then we open the floor for some remarks from others. Salim?
Thank you, Jessie. Well, first of all, I think we need to thank you as CIB Working Group, and particularly yourself, for these preparations. I think this is quite important to update this document in the face of the new realities. I will have some remarks and insights from the MEWA region, and I mean, I won't give some specific maybe answers to your questions, but I think it will help you to maybe fine-tune some parts of the document. Well, from our perspective, of course, South-to-South decentralized cooperation models, they provide more sustainable and economically feasible and efficient cooperation projects in the region compared to the North-to-South ones. And these kinds of models create a space where mutual learning is possible. Both parties can learn from each other. And because of these advantages, most of the DC initiatives in our region happen within the region. I see Jamal Bash from Turkey. Well, Turkish municipalities work more with European ones. Maybe it may create an exception, but still most of the initiatives are within the region. But in our region also there are many differences, like the whole region falls into the category of Global South, but there are a lot of differences between capacities and financial, capabilities of some cities within the region. So donor to recipient type of relationships still exist even within our regions. Like the Syrian municipalities receive support directly from the Turkish municipalities to serve their communities across the border. This kind of differences still exist within the region, so we cannot talk about a unified model within the region. As we always say, we have different and unique socioeconomic and political characteristics and challenges within the region. Most of our countries in the region are developing countries, so development is the common language that all the cities and countries speak in the region. But in most cases, because of the urgency of the development needs, sometimes it happens at the expense of sustainability. Because, as I said, the development is an urgent matter in the region. And we believe that SDG framework has the potential to reshape this narrative and development policies of the local governments, because it helps them to create a balance between sustainability and development. And therefore, and for this reason, SDG-driven decentralized cooperation initiatives has to be promoted across the region. Another challenge, most of the countries in the region have a highly centralized administrative structure, with some exceptions. So local governments have very limited decision-making power to create their own relations in most cases. So there needs to be a vertical dialogue always between local governments and national governments to create a enabling environment for cities to act actually, because without the national government permission, they may not be able to cooperate. So there is this political aspect and a political challenge in our region that we need to take into account. Another challenge, as we always say, we have a limited number of LGAs in the MEWA region, except for Turkey and Palestine. Maybe the other countries do not have effective local government associations, and it's a big challenge. That's why international organizations like us in the region, we believe that we have an important role to advocate for the importance and significance of decentralized cooperation. And that's why we are trying to push the agenda, and that's why we volunteered for doing this next training on decentralized cooperation with our UCLG Learning colleagues. And in this particular period of time, especially, we need to make reference to wars and conflicts, as we always do, because in these periods of time, central governments and national institutions are further empowered. So DC initiatives they have to be deprioritized. So they are like the secondary issue for many countries or many cities, because during the periods of war and conflicts, it creates a kind of vicious cycle where DC activities have to stop and relations between communities across the communities have to break apart. But after the war or after the conflict, I mean, in the post-conflict periods, still, we believe that decentralized cooperation has a big potential because, as we all know and as we all experienced in the past, countries cannot easily cooperate after a war or after a conflict, but cities can because they have to. Sometimes they may share the same resource or like water resource across the border to cities, so they have to cooperate even their countries do not communicate officially. So political aspect of decentralized cooperation is still important. I don't want to take so much time. I have some other remarks about COVID and how it's helped, promote decentralized cooperation, because many cities had to cooperate, even if their countries didn't during the COVID times. Even UCLG had some learning activities on sharing experiences on how cities responded. I think these were valuable as well. And last point, we also had this survey, even if we didn't have the training session, we already sent out the surveys for decentralized cooperation. I think we have similar results to ASPAC, so I won't go into details for that. But we will have more concrete, maybe insight after the training is done with our participating cities. So thank you for giving the floor.
Thank you very much, dear Salim. It will be really great to do the next training with you, and we count on all of you to participate there as speakers, as best practices cases, and also eager to listen to everyone of you there. And now I believe now we open the floor to all participants. Just mention another thing about the module 4 and the training, that we also have the massive and open online courses based on the module 4 in English, French, and Spanish. But now we will have also with the training in MEWA the MOOC in Turkish, on the module 4 in Turkish. So I will pass to the chat here to the links for you to subscribe and do the course. I think Jamal has the first comment there. Jamal, please go ahead. We're with you, and then everyone is invited to comment too.
Thank you very much, and I would like to thank the CIB for organizing this conversation. It was very useful. With MEWA, Union of Turkish Municipalities, closely working with, and we are also having a subcommittee, a CIB, let's call it, within the context of the MEWA region. And we had a retreat a couple of months back. It was by the end of last year, I reckon. There, with Salim Bey, with Melis Hanım, with other UCLG MEWA colleagues, we sat down and we said, how can we increase the interest for this topic, plus the interest of municipalities to bring them into this table. One of the examples was the EU project that Union of Turkish Municipalities has organized. It's called Town Tuning between Turkey and EU, where you work on a specific topic, such as climate change. You work on a greener future. You work on SDGs, and you get like 100,000 euro financing for the joint actions that you do, which is actually a development cooperation in its sense. So we thought about creating this in a MEWA context, and we are now looking to a big donor organizations within the MEWA region, because we do have a very countries that have very limited financial capacity, but we do actually have some countries swimming in a money pool as well. So we are looking in some of those rich guys countries, beloved countries, to get some donor financing to the MEWA context town tuning for development cooperation, and theming that with the SDGs as well. I hope we can do that. So I just want to explain that, share that information too. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Jamal. I don't know if there is any other remark. We'll share also the screen, the screen with the questions here, so you can comment. Please, Hemanti.
Thank you. Yes, I represent like the South Asia region. The biggest challenge we are having is the political instability. For instance, now at this moment of time, there's changes of government and the policies. There's no inconsistency in the policies. So what happens is, as the government changes, the policies changes, and also the financing mechanism is also changing. So we have to think how best we could address these kind of issues where the policy regime is changing from time to time. Thank you. That's my comment.
Thank you very much, dear Hemanti. Very interesting to hear from you. I don't know if we can make a round of comments, and then Sarah can also do the final comment on and close the session. No, someone else. That's the time. That's the time. No? Is there any other comment? No? Okay, so let's choose Sarah to comment. Generally, please, Sarah, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Fernando, and thank you, everybody. Do you hear me? Yeah? Yes. Okay. So, well, this was very, very insightful. I thank you very much, and it's a big pleasure to see the regional sections being so strong owners, so strong advocates, and also strong learners. So it's really, it fills me with pride to see the strength of our network, I would say. No, so some years ago we were talking about focal points for learning and for cooperation, and I think we are definitely there now, having a very, very good cooperation also inside the UCLG with the World Secretariat and the sections with our consultants. So this is all motivated by passion and by commitment and by a real true belief of the municipal power. So I think Hendra was looking back and showed you a little bit how an event is working and what training of trainers mean, and also how ready are our sections and how multifold are the opportunities in Asia. So, for example, UNESCAP was with us and gave so excellent feedback, and this all will not end here. So I think ASPAC has so many partners that it's not only the bank, it's also not only about financing. I think this is coming out clear that decentralized cooperation, more than other cooperation, goes for long term. And technical exchange, small peer learnings can also make an impact and maintain relations over time. I also think Jesse showed a very insightful the idea of our policy paper. We have mandated CIB for that reason, because we want this policy paper be updated and renewed, because we have a big advocacy agenda. I mean, UCLG is first and very known for advocacy, and in the United Nations we have a big stakes. As you know, our delegation in this moment is closing a big event in New York around the new urban agenda, where we lobby, and the SDG framework gave us this opportunity. So content-wise, we can use the SDG and can really knock almost on every door in the United Nations, because the SDG is so strong and so convenient agenda for local governments. So in the moment we are still in this mode of showing all what we are doing, and this of course is impressive for partners, because they usually or very much have overlooked the power and the technical capacity, also the responsibilities and the commitments of local government. And we hope that the decentralized cooperation can really be more professional and more effective, and come out
of this SDG agenda also as very easy to align to the global and local agenda, so localize. I think the points Salim made are very important. This interregional cooperation also is important and not to be overlooked. This is in the case in MEWA, a strong solidarity cooperation between cities, between countries. And in the moments of crisis, now we are here in Europe in a war. MEWA has experienced this situation for the last years. We also know of the COVID. I think all these points you said, Salim, they show that it brings us more together. So unfortunately, we have crises, but crises are opportunities to filter and to go to our basics. And I think this is happening world over. And of course, we now also need to, with the decentralized cooperation, to show, and with our crisis group in particular, and the diplomacy group, to show the way ahead on the conflicts, not to leave no one behind. Not only now focusing, of course, Europe is the largest donor, it's very active, so, but we cannot only focus on Ukraine, we cannot forget that we have Syria, we have Somalia, we have Mali, so there are many, many parts of the world in conflict, and they really need decentralized cooperation as a way not to be forgotten and not to be left alone. Also, we know that decentralized cooperation is a political opportunity because not everybody is aligned with the presidents, and we have democracies, so we have locally elected mayors and leaders that can do their point, and of course they benefit a lot of the political partnership with other city leaders around the world. So finally, I think the call and our advocacy strategy, coming back to this, maybe I would add this to Jesse's point, the use of this policy paper, of course, is one part is internally, as she said, locally, we have more engagement of the cities, we have new forces, the projects change. Hopefully more cities and local leaders are able to attract their private sectors, their stakeholders. We see this way of new cooperation, which is also only possible in decentralized cooperation involving so many partnerships. But we also have the national element. So I think this, what Salim said, the vertical dialogue is itself a piece that can be strengthened by decentralized cooperation. It's not only that we need the nations to support. For example, in Europe, we have here Sabine, Germany was outstanding, the national support to decentralized cooperation, but this is not the only format. We also need in many countries that the decentralized cooperation shows pieces to on our mantra of decentralization, fiscal decentralization, give more power to local government, you will have more development. Regionally as well, the development banks, ASPAC, but also private sector who is very engaged in the regions. I think Hendra made that point, in particular on disasters. There is a lot happening in Asia. And finally, globally. So globally, we have a big event before us, the Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation. This is a very important event. We know we have in total less funding for development cooperation, but much broader partnership opportunities. And we need to be ready for this to make a big point in our advocacy strategy to show the impact and also the accountability of cooperation. So if we and not only UCLG, but all the local government associations want to be strong, and some say they want to be broker, we need also to build our own capacity to ensure this accountability and show the impact. And that's a little bit our agenda as well as learning. We are very often asked for what is the impact of cooperation, and then finally is something changing, and we really need to look at this because it's not that we are doing it, but we need to do it for all the cities. So to maintain also the flag, not only why it's important, but what is happening, and to count the stories and to bring indicators into this. And that's a little bit the way ahead we have. And I think we can go together because all your pieces and all your strengths and all your ideas can be integrated in our advocacy strategy in this way. And so I thank you very, very much. And I'm sorry I was late because I got a little bit confused with connection, but I got all the messages and I could listen everything. So I was only 3 minutes late. Thank you very much. And so nice seeing you. Please, those of you who are here, could you for 1 minute switch on your camera so we can take a nice group picture? That would be so lovely.
Great, thank you.
And
So,
over to Fernando.
thank you very much. We can take a photo of all the group. Always great to see your faces.
And then perhaps, Fernando, afterward, you still show the next step.
Yes, so, okay. Now that we have everyone, we'll share the next steps with Jessie. Please go ahead, Jessie.
You took the picture, good. Yeah, I wanted to very briefly, because we're already over time, I realize, show you the next steps for the policy paper. It was a very rich discussion today and a lot of information, I can imagine. But there's still space for final written feedback until the 10th of May. On Monday, next Monday, we will share presentations and the documents with all participants, and then you have 1.5 weeks to still share with your other members or comment yourself. We've talked this week also to DLOG, the donor community, and with the other regions. So we're gathering the last input, and hopefully we then have a rather complete overview of the state of affairs in our sector. I want to briefly mention that CIB is also meeting in person on the 8th and 9th of June, the first time since COVID. A meeting again, for, as I said, for professionals working on international cooperation in associations or in cities. Some of you have registered already, which is great, but we encourage you to join because it's really a peer learning event on decentralized cooperation and a very practical event. Aimed at capacity building. If you are not able to join us in person, there's also a hybrid conversation on this topic with implementing partners and donors on the 8th of June. We will communicate about all of this in the next weeks, but I wanted to mention it here again. And then the last step for the policy paper is that we have it adopted at the Executive Bureau in June. And then we move away from the document and hopefully make sure it becomes a permanent or remains a permanent conversation within UCLG. A document is only a document, but it's important for us that this is a continuous dialogue with members, but also with other stakeholders. So we will connect to the different political parts of UCLG in summer and also make it very visible at the World Congress in fall, where in Korea, where we hope to see many of you. Thanks again. If you want to learn more about CIB, I will put the website in the chat. And I'd like to welcome you at other events. And thank you very much also to the learning team for the co-organization of all of these very useful regional sessions this week. Have a good holiday in Asia, perhaps also MEWA, and see you at a different event.
Thank you all. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Fernando, for organizing.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Goodbye.